on, Danny. Stay.
He's gone.
No. No, he's not. Come on, Danny. Don't do this.
Daniel, feel what you've done to others. What you've done to others.
Nothing. Stop compression. I think we should call it. I'm sorry. He didn't make it.
You are a powerful, spiritual being, and love makes the difference. Yes, I understand. And now you must go back. No. No, I'm not ready. Go back. No, I'm not ready. I'm not.
Are you ready to die?
1 second. Okay, I'm ready.
It's the Eric Roberts podcast. And we're talking about a film that aired on television in 1995, a film called Saved by the Light, an adaptation of a memoir by Dannion Brinkley. I'm joined by Dr. Roy.
Before we talk about Dannion Brinkley, or as I like to call him, Brinkley Dannion, I'd like to talk about a whole different podcast. You know, sometimes I don't just listen to our podcast, I listen to others as well. I listen to one called the Elroy Boys. Have you heard of this?
I'm familiar.
It's a good show. They talk about film noirs, but through the lens of being fans of James Elroy, whom I've never read any of his books, but I sure love film noirs. And they did an episode talking about the movie Vertigo. Are you a big Vertigo fan?
I've seen it.
That's how I feel. Now, many times in this episode, they talked about how it's really hard to talk about the movie, but it was so great. And I kind of feel like maybe the reason it's so hard to talk about is it's not that good, and it's a scam perpetrated by the French to make us think it's so good. Would you even say it's one of your top Alfred Hitchcock movies?
No, but I'm always prepared to change my mind. It's been a very long time since I've seen it, but I don't know.
I'm going to say probably isn't one of my top Hitchcocks. Definitely not one of my top Jimmy Stewarts.
Yeah.
And they say things like that there's a shot of a double of the person in the painting and a double of the person she's doubling, and that's so deep. I'm going to say it's just obvious. They also say that they feel Vertigo is profoundly violent. Did you feel that when you watched the movie Vertigo?
I don't remember feeling that way.
Did you feel it was an epic on a modest scale?
How do you feel about, tell me how you really feel.
I feel like Vertigo is a movie about the world's biggest fool. And Jimmy Stewart's character is stupid to the point of being hard to care for. And it's a testament to the greatness of Jimmy Stewart that the movie holds your attention at all. And also, the villain's endgame in the movie is terrible. It only works if Jimmy Stewart and the camera are placed exactly where they end up. If he stands anywhere else, their whole scheme falls apart. And if the camera's put anywhere else, it's just obvious that it doesn't make any sense. And I don't think the movie's anywhere near as good to me as Citizen Kane. They said that until Pulp Fiction, no movie turned more people into filmmakers than Citizen Kane. And does anyone ever see Vertigo and have that light come on for the first time? Does Vertigo change lives?
No.
I'll bet somebody thought that after they saw Psycho, but not Vertigo.
I like the 39 Steps.
I like a lot of the Hitchcocks. In fact, I do like Vertigo, but more as like one of those things like I like The Aviator, where I watch it as a person who's into filmmaking to watch cool shots and edits and stuff more than I think this is just the greatest film I ever saw.
Yeah. But when I saw it, it was kind of ruined for me in advance by all of the hype.
Maybe for me too.
So I'm watching it trying to force myself to have some kind of deep experience from it, and I didn't get much of that. Maybe I should revisit it.
Maybe so. Maybe I've been too hard on it too. Do you remember in Night Walk when Roberts went Muslim?
I sure do.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah, that's a bit of good filmmaking right there.
But this week we're going from last time we had Navy SEAL action. This time we have the director of Navy SEALs, Louis Teague.
Yeah, Louis Teague has had a pretty decent career.
I loved the movie Navy SEALs as a boy to the point of drawing up blueprints for a Navy SEALs video game that I wanted to sell to Nintendo.
Damn, that's passion.
I loved that movie.
I used to love to conceive of video games when I was young, just like you, drawing. My mother would bring home dot matrix paper from her
Oh,
work.
yes, mine too.
You could stretch the paper out
Maybe
because
my
they were all
father brought the
connected.
dot matrix.
So you could make these very long sheets of rectangular paper, and I would use them to draw out side scroller
Oh,
style
wow.
video game maps.
Yeah, my Navy SEALs game was kind of based on a mix of side scrollers like Contra and games like the old X-Men, the first X-Men video game, where you would kind of choose characters and flip between them throughout the levels. And my idea was that at some point you would click and be Bill Paxton as God, the sniper, and have to take out guys to get your other guys across and stuff. Kind of like a lot of video games work now, I feel like.
Yeah,
but,
I think we should.
But certainly would have been impossible in the Nintendo days, probably.
I always wanted to see a Saved by the Light video game.
Well, this is
the
from
player
from the producers of American Gladiators.
Really, that was a show that I was fond of when I was a young timer,
which I'm sure did have a video game. If not, I'd be shocked.
Well, I think the big Eric Roberts year was 96, and that we always return to. And this is just prior to that. He was only in 3 films in 95. So he was at kind of a lower, he was in an ebb, I guess, right?
Well, I guess so.
Ebb year. He was in a film called The Immortals,
which we should do at some point. Very hilarious movie.
And then he was in a film called Nature of the Beast.
Wow, I can't believe Immortals is from the same year as this. Wow.
With Lance Henriksen, which is a direct-to-video mystery horror film.
Sounds kind of cool.
So Saved by the Light came out in December of 95, December 12th.
And then was later released by BWE, Bonneville Worldwide Entertainment, on home video, which was owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
That is interesting, given the subject matter of the film.
I saw the film when I was a young man, and I had read the book before I saw the film.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was way into this kind of stuff, man. I was into the paranormal and near-death experiences, and so I read Danion's book. I guess I must have been 13 or 14 when I read it and was kind of big on it. Hey, here's something. The film that I saw was an hour and a half long. It says here, according to the listing on Wikipedia, the film was 120 minutes long. Is there an
I watched
uncut?
It at 90 minutes, and I felt like we might be missing out on stuff. Man. At the end, at the end of the movie, I didn't think this the second time I watched it twice, but at the end of the first time, I made the note, so many loose ends, and then I didn't really feel them the second time.
The length, according to IMDb, is an hour.
It says an hour
36.
36. Oh well, so. That's still longer than what we saw, but I feel like the credits were sped up or something.
I feel it's my life's goal to find the Saved by the Light cut footage, just to know how many other V-neck T-shirts were used in this film.
Louis Teague has kind of been a name, and the director of the film, Louis Teague's kind of been a name recently in the news because he gets brought up in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood novel, and Tarantino's been bringing up the movie he directed, The Woman in Red, or Lady in Red. I forget the title. I've seen the movie. Good movie. Tarantino was saying that a good movie would be a remake of Lady in Red based on the John Sayles screenplay, which he's not complaining about the movie that exists. He just thinks with more budget and stuff, it could have been a great movie.
I'm a big fan of the song, The Lady in Red.
I like the movie Lady in Red. It was a fun B movie. Of course, about the woman who fingered John Dillinger to the cops.
Oh, I see. Who plays Dillinger in that one?
Can't remember. Maybe Ben Gazzara. No, I'm probably confused. I don't remember who plays Dillinger in that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the story of Saved by the Light.
Yes, sir.
So Eric Roberts is the star of this film.
Bringing immediate V-neck action.
He's portraying real life man, Danian Brinkley, real life Manian.
Spiritual being.
So Roberts has played a few real life guys at this point. The Star 80 guy was a real person, right?
Yes.
I can't think of who else. Well, of course, the character in Cold Blood had not come out yet.
No, we were a year away.
So the film takes place in 1975 in the town of Aiken, South Carolina. There's also a hilarious text at the very beginning of the film that misspells the word controversial. Yeah, controversial. They left out the R there. Pretty embarrassing, guys. So we have some very television production looking opening credits. We see some ominous weather a-brewing in this town, this small southern town. There's some storming going on already. And then, so we meet Danian. He's working the deli counter and the butcher counter at a small town grocery store. And he is not a generous man.
No, we get to see that he weighs out some meat for a man, and it comes to like 0.2 pounds over. And the guy thinks he's going to get the free 0.2 pounds. Brinkley Brinkley Danyon just immediately grabs off 0.2 pounds of meat, puts it in his raw meat, and starts eating it in front of the guy. Pretty hilarious.
See, I thought
both,
maybe it was
both
deli
disgusting
meat.
and a cheat. Both like the guy gets cheated and disgusted.
Is it raw?
I don't know. It may have been like ham or something. I don't know that you could eat raw. He definitely didn't cook it. He just pulled it right off the edge and started eating it.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe some deli meat. It looks
probably
pretty
is.
gnarly.
It did look gnarly.
So you get some fun tricks here. So you see he works for these people, and then gradually you find out he works for his parents. So that's a fun reveal, I guess. And his parents are asking him to deliver some meat to a nursing home that he's not crazy about doing. And he's also not crazy about the fact that his parents are letting people pay
on credit.
And so he makes a delivery to the nursing home. He's rude to a guy in a wheelchair, tells him to like move it or lose it or something. He's wheeling in some groceries, and then he shakes the nursing home manager down for money because she's trying to shortchange him. And then,
which doesn't, I mean, in today's world, the money doesn't seem like that much money for that many groceries.
What, she gets some money from one of the cooks or something? She makes one of the employees cough up money for the groceries, it looked like.
Yes.
That was pretty embarrassing. And then on the way out, Brinkley Danyon purposefully knocks over a bunch of stuff in the kitchen just to be a dick.
He's a real Scrooge.
He's a real Scrooge.
And a real badass. Kind of made for Las Vegas. Did
I
tell you I've never been to Las Vegas?
No, I've been there.
I didn't realize you'd ever been to Las Vegas. How do you like it?
I thought it was pretty fun. I was there. It was a whirlwind trip. I was there for a very brief period of time, so I didn't get to really get the full experience. I was on my way to another
Fear and
destination.
Loathing in Las Vegas recently, and I wondered if, sometimes you don't think you're that impressionable, but that movie makes drugs seem so fun and Las Vegas seems so unfun. I wondered if it has at all influenced me never going to Las Vegas and also trying lots of drugs.
Yeah, it influenced me to kind of have a bad opinion about Vegas. But remember, on one of the previous episodes, we got into talking about how the 90s was obsessed with Vegas.
Oh, wow, you're right. Yes.
A bunch of Vegas movies, and they all seemed so gaudy to me. I hate gambling. That's number one. I don't like number games or card games at all. So there's no attraction.
I like number games, but I don't like games where I feel like no matter what skill I have, it doesn't help me. I like a game that something about me knowing something or some quality I possess other than a special relationship with fortune will cause me to win.
Yeah.
I like games of skill, not games of chance.
I don't care for much of it, any of it at all. But just like Vertigo, I am prepared to have my mind changed. I kind of feel like if I went to Vegas now, I would probably dig it. I would be kind of a dork that would want to go see like Celine Dion and shit like that.
I've developed an appreciation for Celine Dion.
Good. Yeah. I like her.
And me too.
So Danyon Brinkley, he is a badass, and he also has a hot rod. I wondered if you could
at first I forgot this was set in 75, and I was like, man, everyone has a sick ride in this. He's got that Cadillac.
Yeah, there's not a lot of 70s signifiers. There's some,
especially not Brinkley Danyon's hair.
Roberts is dressed very much like a 90s Levi's model or something.
And he's dressed in his classic V-neck style.
The signature. Yeah, the signature
from
90s
Roberts. One time I was reading something about some movie, and Steve McQueen was in the early to mid 70s, where he was supposed to dress a certain way, and he told them to tailor his jeans to make the cuffs a little higher. Somebody's like, Steve McQueen fans want to see Steve McQueen in this kind of jean with jeans like this. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if, Eric Roberts is like, Eric Roberts fans need to see Eric Roberts in a V-neck, a jean jacket.
Yeah, I heard a story about Steve McQueen. Yeah, I could see him. This was when he was hooked up with his wardrobe.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And she, the Immortals from the same year, I guess, would be one of the ones where she gets the credit.
Yeah, we need to watch the Immortals, I think, pretty soon, just to see.
I'd be very down.
I mean, this is less a game of skill and more of a game of risk. But would you risk to say that there's some V-neck wearing in that film?
I don't remember, but we'll probably be on the lookout.
So could you identify the hot rod that he drives?
He has it. Well, I mean, is it a hot rod? It looks like a big, it's a Cadillac. It has that big Cadillac thing on the front. It was the only car that I'm not a big cars person. I like them more as I get older a little bit, but I did identify that his red car was a Cadillac.
Yeah, I guess any kind of classic car, I would just say is a hot rod, but it's more of, it's definitely like a 50s looking car.
Yeah, it's for cruising.
And we see some kids dumping sugar in his gas tank.
Yes.
Brinkley is not loved in his town. He's burned every single bridge with every person there, except for
Yes,
like
and you
his little core
understand
group.
why local kids pick him to throw sugar in the gas tank. He's a jerk.
And he's got his little core group of buddies that are probably and his wife that we'll get to, who are the only ones who really tolerate him outside of his parents. And the way that we meet, he goes back from the nursing home to the deli, and this housewife comes in that he's being very flirtatious with. And of course, Roy, it turns out to be his wife. Another delightful, cute little reversal there. They really hit you with those. And her name is Casey, and I didn't really recognize this actress.
Me neither. In fact, I recognized, other than Don McManus and Don Harvey, almost no one in this movie do I recognize.
Her name is Lynette Walden.
Well, there's one very particular person I did recognize. We'll get to.
And she had a pretty decent run in the 90s. It looks like she was in Benny and June, Mobsters.
Oh, yes. She is a showgirl in Mobsters. That's right, which I've just seen. Yeah, I did recognize her from Mobsters.
So, and you're a big fan of this series, Fallen Angels.
And she's not, yeah, this lady, she's also in Fallen Angels, as I believe, as the kind of the narrator lady on season 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She Faye Friendly, the host.
Yes.
Red Shoe Diary.
In season 1, it was Miguel Ferrer's voice, but in season 2, it's her. She opens every episode.
Yeah. So Casey is she's attractive. She's a bleach blonde beauty, and she puts up with Danion's BS. So she leaves, and then there's a shoplifter.
Yeah, the shoplifter guy, classic dirt bag.
Yeah, he gets caught just trying to steal some supplies to get by, some food and whatnot. And Brinkley gives him a running chance, a running start, and he chases him outside and starts to beat the hell out of him. But some cops show up and kind of save the guy.
And they're like used to him doing this.
Yeah, let him go, Danion. Yeah, so he lets the guy go, and the mother.
Did he describe it like this in his book? Do you recall?
Yeah, he was a bad guy. He was a fighter, and like he was a cartoon character kind of guy.
I watched Brinkley Danion every few years. Somebody, it seems like, drags him out, or he gets somebody to interview him for something.
Yeah.
To this day, and yes, he characterizes himself as such now, as being a bad guy.
Yeah, he kind of he got into the new age,
narcissistic, kind of violent.
Yeah, he's kind of going to be a part of the new age industry from now until the day he dies again,
or again and again.
I have a feeling he might die 3 or 4 more times before.
Yes,
he's finally in the grave,
because he's up to one more after the end of this movie.
Yeah, he's died a few times.
3, as far as I know. Yes.
Interviews that I've read. Sorry to spoil it, guys. He dies in this. So he gets off work at his parents' grocery store, and he goes and he picks up his boys in his car, and I think they're going to go get some beers, and they're flirting with some girls at a burger joint.
Mm-hmm.
And
more of his jerk behavior. He's down to cheat on the wife, or at least seem like it.
Yeah. And I think somewhere around here, we've learned that he is a veteran. He was a soldier in Nam.
He was a Marine.
That's right. And Roberts is well into his 30s in this, and so are his buddies. But it's so funny how teenage it all is. He acts like a teenager. He drives a teenage car. It's pretty hilarious.
His main buddy was played by Don Harvey, who, much like Bill Nye and In Cold Blood, I immediately think of from the movie 8 Men Out, where he plays one of the Chicago White Sox, the first one the gamblers approach about throwing the World Series. But Don Harvey's kind of HBO's boy. He's on all those HBO shows now, like The Deuce. He was on one episode of Eagleheart. Do you remember him from Eagleheart?
Yeah, I recognize this guy from everything.
I don't even know if he really has lines. He plays a guy that's like a ticket taker or an usher down into a subway that leads old people to that place where Hollywood uses their waddles to do all of the Foleying. He's like a conductor or something.
Whoa.
To getting the old people to their prison.
Oh yeah, the Waddles episode. Okay.
Yes, that's
coming back to me now.
He's playing a part that I imagine James LeGros turned down.
Yeah, yeah. I have Eagleheart in a moratorium right now. I'm going to wait another couple years before I
maybe wise
break it out and go back into it. But I loved it when it was around. So if this takes place in 75, Brinkley was born in 50. So Roberts' character is roughly around 25. When did Nam end? 73?
Somewhere in there, 73, 74.
I guess he's been out
before Nixon was done.
Out of the war for a couple of years.
Nixon was done in 74, right?
Yeah, 75.
All of a sudden, I can't remember history. It was
Well,
before my time.
This film takes place after the war in Vietnam. His buddies, he's driving home with his buddies, and finally the car breaks down from the sugar in the gas
Yeah, and they've
tank.
had a lot to drink, or at least some.
Yeah, they've been sipping on some beers, and there's now the storm is really hitting hard. It's pouring and lightning and thundering outside. And he limps the car into a station, and there's an attendant there, and the attendant's like a really nice, kind of mild-mannered guy who's just like, I can't fix it. There's not a mechanic here. And Brinkley takes it out on the poor attendant
yes.
guy and
This
beats
is
him
terrible.
up real good.
Just
Do something about it.
Yeah, he's like, you've got a sign saying
Yeah.
mechanic on duty night or day. Now you fix my car. He's like, I really don't know how to do it. I don't have the expertise.
Yeah, he sheepishly laughs. He's like, we forgot to take the sign down. And then he just gets beat up. And then Brinkley also punches a gas pump, old school gas pump with a little glass lens on it. And so it slices his hand up real good. So he comes home boozed up to his wife, Casey, and she notices that he's been boozing and that he's has an injured hand. So she's like, oh, you've been fighting again.
Do you think the fighting makes him happy? Because all of a sudden he goes from being a really unhappy person to this scene where he's drunk and at post fight with a messed up hand, he really is quite happy.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty good drunk right here.
Yeah, he definitely does not take things out on his lady.
No, that's one of the things you notice is that for all of these other things, like by the end, you're like, wow, is Brinkley Daniel the greatest man of all time?
Mm-hmm. He's very noble. I can't remember if he wrote that in his book about him being so nice to his wife, but I'm thinking maybe a little unreliable narrator here.
Yeah, she's not very good with that garbage disposal, is she?
He may have seen some things in his life review that didn't make it into the final cut.
Maybe. I'm guessing yes. I like when he eats the spaghetti drunk.
Well, yeah. So when she was at the grocery store, she was buying a bunch of steaks that she was going to make for dinner. And he comes home to see that she had ruined the steaks while trying to cook them and had to feed them to the dogs. And I don't know about you, but I would have bloodied my other knuckles if I had found out that my wife had ruined those steaks.
Yeah.
But he does seem pretty chill about it.
Yes, he does.
And she makes him his favorite dinner ever, sketty and butter.
Yes, which really looks like fettuccine.
Yeah, just gross spaghetti noodles with butter. But he loves it. And the storm is raging outside, Roy. And the lightning is flashing. I mean, I don't know how much money they had for the budget of this film, but it really feels like they're really in a storm. Like they waited for the outside conditions to be just right for there to be lightning and thunder.
Or coming up on a pretty good special effect.
Mm-hmm. So he gets a call from his buddy. Now, I kept thinking his buddy's name was Jim, the guy we were just talking about. Did you say the character's name? I can't remember.
I didn't remember the character's name. I guess it was TM. Yeah, I remember thinking TM, Transcendental Meditation, when they said it later.
Yes. Yeah. I thought Jim, Tim, but no, it's TM.
Common initial last for name. You see a lot of guys go by TM.
I mean, people give me shit for my name being ED, but I don't know. TM seems pretty weird. So TM calls and Brinkley takes the call in another room. This is for the younger listeners, this is in the old landline days. Now, Roy, do you remember being warned about being on the phone during lightning storms?
I don't, but maybe I was. I don't remember being warned about it.
I don't feel like there was a threat of that too much.
Maybe they changed how they did things.
Yeah, I think maybe the electric technology changed before or after 1975.
Yeah, I don't remember ever being told that. I remember you didn't want to go stand by a pole.
Yeah, I wish I should have done research before doing this episode and asking older people who are older than us, if they remember that being a problem. But we grew up in a part of the country where we have crazy storms.
Oh, yes. I'm here now in the part of the country we grew up in as we speak, and there was just a really good lightning storm a couple nights ago.
Oh, I miss those. Yeah,
it was cool.
We don't really get those in the part of the country I'm living in now.
Me neither. Not in Los Angeles either. It's maybe one a year.
They're real fun to watch and just hang out around. Lightning's cool. Brinkley is on the phone. He goes and takes the call in his room. The lightning hits the house and blasts through the phone and lifts him up off the ground.
Knocks him off the ceiling.
It throws him into the ceiling, and there's like a really crazy sound effect too.
It was really cool. It was hilarious, but not because it sucked. It looked good.
It was like X-Files tier, special effects. It straight up kills the guy. I mean, it kills him good. And then we see his spirit raise up out of his dead body. Then it's more of a POV it's Brinkley's POV watching his lifeless body on the floor as Casey comes in and finds him. She calls the ambulance. Well, she gets back on the phone. The guy's TM's still on the phone, remember? He's like, what happened? I heard a noise. His POV is watching helplessly as she's crying over his body. And then he's in the ambulance as it's driving, and the guys are working on him in the ambulance. And then we see the classic moving through the tunnel towards the light. What do you think about these special effects?
Not as convincing.
Yeah. I think
I rewound this sequence many times.
And I think perhaps the graphics, your envisioned idea for a Navy SEALs video game would have been better. Had your game come out in 93 or whatever, he goes to a celestial place and he can see himself, but he's translucent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And an angel or a being of light approaches him.
It also speaks in the voice of Eric Roberts, as we all hope that the angel does when we die.
Yeah, I hope that the angel that I encounter has my voice. That's not going to make me feel self-conscious at all.
No, I was just hoping it has Eric Roberts' voice.
Oh, yeah. That would be good. Roy, you've lived a good life. So what does he say?
I understand.
Yeah. Do you remember what the angel says to Brinkley?
The love is that you make is the difference, or something like that.
Yeah, some Beatles shit, right?
Yes, the love you make is equal to the love you take.
The first thing he says.
But have we seen him? Did they show him his sins yet?
I was getting to that.
Okay, my bad.
First thing the angel says to him is, Danny, and feel what you've done to others. And so he sees himself as a child. He was a bully from the very beginning.
He's basically Damien from The Omen, but more active.
Yeah.
He kicks the crutches out of a kid with disabilities and beats him on the ground. Just for no reason, apparently, other than the kid had crutches.
Yeah.
Gleefully burns down the only black family in town's home, laughs while his mother is in anguish. Later on in high school, beats his teacher's ass.
But okay, now back to the burning house thing with the crying onlookers, and you see Danians at the scene of the crime with the fire. Did you see that he had a match in his mouth?
No, I missed that. I just like how happy he was to watch it burn while everybody cried. Like, I think if you were that, even a bad kid would maybe like seeing all the anguish that it caused would feel bad. But
yeah, straight up sociopath.
Not Brinkley. Yeah, he's psychopath.
He's chewing on a match, which I thought was just like a beautiful
I didn't even
touch.
catch that. It's funny.
Yeah, lots of school fighting. At some point when he's a teenager, he punches out a school teacher.
Yes.
Then he's in Vietnam.
And kills a guy.
Killing some Vietnamese fellers. And so you could see the remorse on Brinkley's face when he's watching this. And Roberts at one point is like, I'm sorry. And then that's when he hears, you are the difference. Who you are is the difference love makes. And so interspersed with this.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. Interspersed with this, he's in the hospital now, and they're shocking him with the pads and nothing's helping, of course.
Yeah, the doctor says, let's shock him and see what happens, but we're already seeing what happens when you shock him.
Yeah, he's getting shocked, double shocked. And so in the afterlife, he's shown visions of a future, and the angel tells him he says something like, behold a future without love and hope. And so we see a lot of stock footage of sad things, people starving, emaciated, war, some pretty gnarly stuff, like kind of some gory stuff, real found footage stuff that was pretty gross. So the doctor pronounces Brinkley dead, and he comes out to share the bad news with Casey and Brinkley's parents, and I think TM's there. And so that shocks them. And then back in the afterlife, the angel tells Brinkley, you are a powerful spiritual being. Love makes the difference. And then they tell him that he has to go back. And I think this is where he's saying, I understand, right?
Yes. But then when they tell him he has to go back, he doesn't want to go.
Yes. but
when you get
he's
there,
gonna be like,
the
I
acting on when
learned my
he's
lesson.
it just he makes me laugh so much as him talking to himself in the afterlife. Those scenes of just him, the weird. No, I don't want. No. It's a
I'm
strange.
not ready. I'm not
No, I'm not
ready.
ready.
It's very stiff and weird.
This is when I started to notice maybe when he was eating the spaghetti, he's doing a lot of his performance in this movie seems to be done with his lower jaw and bottom teeth, lower lip and bottom teeth.
Though I did not see any teeth sucking.
No, but a lot of lower teeth action in this movie.
Yeah, he's working some cocaine jaw in this.
Yes, I was wondering too if maybe he's been doing some speed or something here.
Maybe.
He has great hair though in it, even though it's not hair appropriate.
Well, yeah, it's not. Like you really feel like if he's anti-counterculture, small town kind of guy, he would just have a flat top or something, right?
Yeah, it
like
doesn't
the most
feel like the
conservative
haircut people. No, don't see that. Well, even my father was very much, and I just realized my father organized anti-Vietnam protests when he was in college, and my father's even got shaggy hair and big sideburns in the early 70s.
Yeah, my father was, from a small country conservative town in the middle of America, and he had shaggy hair and sideburns. So, anyways, Roberts's hair, it definitely has like that 1995 LA looks kind of crunchiness to it that doesn't quite fit. It's it's definitely anachronistic.
It kept like I would kind of lose track of that it was in the 70s, except for in little parts, and think, wow, why does everybody have such a classic car? Oh yeah, this is 1975.
Yeah, they don't really go hard with the 70s wardrobe either.
No, it's kind of like when we did In Cold Blood, and they didn't go way in hard on the 50s.
So Brinkley comes back to life, and I think it's TM is in the hallway as they're wheeling the body out that's covered by the sheet, and the morgue guys are all kind of just goofing around, joking with each other, getting ready.
I think they hit Roberts's head on the elevator door when they wheel him in to the elevator,
and they're kind of
under the
giggling.
sheet.
And so he's paralyzed. He's alive, but he's paralyzed.
But then all of a sudden, the person who realizes he's alive is TM.
Yes, because of the breathe. He can see the breathing.
TM really saves the day here after being also responsible for his death by calling him.
Yeah, can you imagine? Just imagine going through this and then coming back to life, but you're paralyzed, and then you get stuck, thrown into a morgue freezer, and you die again.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking, it's like, man, if TM hadn't been around, wow.
This kind of reminds me of that plane crash in San Francisco where the plane came down and it crashed on landing in the runway, and everyone was pouring out of the plane on the runway, and the woman came out of the airplane and had survived, and when she got on the ground, one of the ambulances ran her over and killed her.
Oh my goodness. I didn't hear about that.
Or a fire truck. Yeah, this happened like 15 years ago or something. Yeah, that's pretty horrible. But Brinkley lives, Roy. So be not sad. But he's in bad shape. And so he's going to have a long road to recovery. So he's in the hospital recovering. His wife is with him. He tells his wife that she says, I was so sad. I thought I lost you. And he's like, yeah, I know. I saw everything. And then he says, I think I went to heaven. They made me look at my life. So his mother visits him. And this is where he starts to show signs of having gained psychic abilities from his experience.
That's right. He knows who doesn't want to come in.
Yeah, he's predicting. Yeah, he's predicting who's visiting and who doesn't want to come into the room. He's also burned very badly on his neck and on his ear from the lightning. He's all sorts of messes.
And we find out soon that he's incredibly light sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has to wear these crazy shades.
So were you thinking about some other movies from this era?
Well, not from this. Well, I guess one is just slightly older, but this movie reminded me of if The Dead Zone and Groundhog Day were addicted to Eric Roberts.
Yeah, I was thinking of Phenomenon starring
Powder,
friend of the pod,
Forrest Whitaker.
Friend of the pod, Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, I have Powder here. Even something like Regarding Henry.
Oh yes.
These weird there is this subgenre of like recovery movies or
I forgot. I used to watch a lot of Regarding Henry on daytime cable and like on Sunday afternoons. Like they would always be playing Regarding Henry.
So another one is
the Ritz Crackers.
How about the film My Life?
Oh yes, yeah. Well, that was more like a guy was dying and
it's more of a patient
video for his kid.
Yeah, it's more of a patient who is suffering type of movie. So I did some research on this movie My Life and this movie Ghost. They were
Mm.
written by a guy named Bruce Joel Rubin, who wrote also his breakout film that he wrote was Jacob's Ladder.
Oh wow, which is another kind of movie like this.
It's an afterlife
Yeah.
supernatural movie that I saw a few weeks ago. And I guess the story about that is, this is just a little side note. Bruce Joel Rubin had written this script maybe in the early 80s, and he just like would not give up on it forever and ever and ever. And finally it got made in like 93 or somewhere in there. Well, I guess it would have predated Ghost.
Did it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Jacob's Ladder came out like the year or two before Ghost. So, but these movies, I only bring it up is just because like this was a jam in the 90s. This kind of supernatural, psychic, but there's other stuff that reminds me of this too. And one of the big ones is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh yes.
And
And
he-
even, I wondered thinking about this because of course Dead Zone, the movie, is based on a Stephen King novel. I don't know what year the novel's from. I didn't look it up, but I was wondering if perhaps the novel The Dead Zone was based on the Daniel Brinkley or something.
Oh
in
yeah,
some
good
way.
call. Probably so. Yeah. What happens in that? He's in a coma, right? And he comes
And
out.
then he comes back and he touches people and can see stuff like Daniel Brinkley does in this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, this is the part of the movie that kind of goes into Close Encounters style. As he's recovering, he becomes completely obsessed with his experience, beginning with drawing. Brinkley is drawing these crude pictures of the beings that he saw in this city of crystal. The
I
Crystal
want to
City.
talk just a little. I'm sorry, just to backtrack to his experience.
Sure.
They say that when you take psychedelic drugs or LSD or something, that it activates a part of your brain that is not normally active, but is right before you die. And
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff he learns about his life and reflecting that they show him about the things he's done to people, it seems like the kind of stuff you would see if you were on LSD. And then if you think about it, like a bright light, like might be the light of the doctors over you. And some people think that the near-death experiences are kind of caused by the anesthetic they give you in the hospital. And I wonder if it is maybe some combination of electricity, anesthetic, and that light just kind of puts you in an acid trip.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of DMT stuff that blasts through your brain and kind of takes you on a ride as you're going through that is not a bad explanation. It's the accounts. I remember being way into this when I was younger. It's when the people are disembodied, the things that they see are things that always end up being real, things that happened. So to me, that's the spooky part. How are they having the out of body experience and it's real and they're actually seeing what's happening? And then when they come back, they can be like, yeah, that guy was doing that and this person was over here. That's kind of spooky.
Yeah, I don't know. It's spooky. I would think maybe they could hear, and sound gives you an idea of where people are when you're blind, but I don't know. It does seem
Yeah,
like
you
could
could be
it.
filling in the blanks. I had like a pretty intense drug experience one time where I felt like I had left my body.
Whoa, how was that?
It was spooky, but it wasn't powerful enough for me to come back and be like, oh, dude, yeah, you were scratching your ankle at exactly 4:23. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have any hard facts that I could break out. So it was probably just an imagined out of body experience.
Possibly.
But
yeah, you hear about that too with people on psychedelic drugs, harder ones than acid, mushrooms, but they talk about out of body experiences. Yeah.
We know you have your flat earther type of people, right? These types of conspiracy type people.
Sure.
Esoteric, if you will. Let's go real esoteric for a minute. There is this group of people out there who have this theory, or they hold this belief that going towards the light is a great deception, and that part of the light has to do with the fact that the moon is much more insidious than we think it is. Some of these people think that the moon is artificial, and that it's either artificial or it was placed there purposely, and that the moon is the light that people see when they die. And what it is a soul trap. It's like a giant insect light that you would have on your porch that attracts souls to it. And it's a recycling center. It wipes your memory and then it spits you back down into earth, into like an eternal cycle of rebirths. I don't know, whoever perpetrates this, maybe they kind of derive some kind of fuel off of people living and suffering and just generating energy, some kind of parasitic entities of some kind. I don't know.
That's wild stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And it's related to, there's stuff like in the Egyptian Book of the Dead that talks about the fisherman. Beware of the fisherman when you die. He's luring you with a light and he's going to pull you up into it.
Well, I mean, if you keep going to that light, it seems like you die. So maybe, like, I was thinking about this later, we'll get to it, but maybe just not going to the light is a good idea if you want to stay alive.
Well, I mean, what if you've suffered total body disruption and there's nothing left of you? You don't have a choice but to be dead,
Sure.
You have to go somewhere. You're going to have to serve somebody.
They call me Chief.
Well, Brinkley comes back, which we've covered. So he's recovering at home and he's going into like Richard Dreyfuss mode here with drawing things. And then he starts to make models of the Crystal City. Did you like those models?
He's alienating everybody by talking about this all the time. Everybody's sick of hearing about it.
Yeah. And he's also obsessed with these visions that he saw. So he has these lists of these predictions. At one point, he's recollecting the word wormwood.
Wormwood is mentioned in the book of Revelation, I believe.
Yeah, it was. So his mother becomes pretty concerned about him. There's a funny scene where he forgets who his mom is.
That was pretty funny.
So is that real? Or is he like goofing on his mom?
I think he's distracted and his mind is just so different. And his perspective on life is, I guess, so different that for a second he forgot she was his mom and just always like, oh yeah, I know that.
It's been a very long time since I read the book, but I do remember Brinkley being like messed up pretty bad for a long time, a couple of years after his accident. And that involved like probably way more extreme memory problems than Roberts does in the film.
And they have him with some wild hair and stuff here to illustrate it.
Yeah, and some
his hair's all puffed up in back his bedhead. All the
goggles that he wears.
Yeah, the sun goggles are great.
It's like his retinas are just permanently burned out by the lightning. So at one point they celebrate his birthday, which is a pretty funny scene. And they bring a cake out. They ask him to give a speech at his party. And they're like, give a speech. And he just says, we are all powerful spiritual beings and love is the difference. And no one likes it at all. Everyone at the party is creeped out. There's some mention of financial problems. This is when he discovers an ad for a speaking engagement featuring this guy, Dr. Raymond Moody, who was talking about this book that he wrote about near-death experiences. So, Roy, did you do any study on Mr. Moody?
No, I didn't. I looked at his Wikipedia, and I guess that later on he tried to induce himself into various near-death experiences. We find out he has not had one in the course of the film, but I guess in the 90s maybe he made himself have some or something.
Yeah, he coined the term
near-death experience. I did read that.
And then at some point later in his life, he did have an experience of his own that came about by him trying to commit suicide. Which is kind of sad. In 1991, he attempted suicide. He says was a result of an undiagnosed thyroid condition which affected his mental state. In an interview in 1993, Dr. Moody stated he was placed in a mental hospital by his family for his work with mirror gazing.
Yes, I saw that too. Mirror gazing work.
There's some demonic things going on. I think there's some kind of connection. I do believe that maybe there's something to this near-death experience thing where you're encountering beings that aren't as benevolent and nice as they say they are.
I think maybe that once you believe in one thing, all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe there are all these things that I don't know about, and I should be listening to all these people. And he goes to all these new age cons and stuff and meets all these other new agers that have all these other beliefs, and he's made this mirror gazing thing's another thing he tried or something, or got to have more books, got to make money.
Well, I've never tried mirror gazing myself.
I don't know what it is. I don't own any reflective surfaces.
Good, because that's where demons live, Roy.
That's what gets you put away.
I'm not going to endorse mirror gazing on this podcast. I've never done it, but it sounds kind of like something I wouldn't tell people to do or try.
No way.
That seems like some Dr. Moody shit to me.
I did watch more episodes of The Unit that included Don McManus, who plays Dr. Raymond Moody. Don McManus has been in tons of stuff.
Oh yeah.
He's a real recognizable actor.
He was in Northern Exposure. He was in he wasn't a regular, but he was in a lot of episodes right around the time that this movie came out. So when I saw the movie, when I was 15 years old, I was like, oh yeah, I know that guy from Northern Exposure. exposure.
Yeah, he was playing like a CIA spook or something on these unit episodes.
He's got a pretty long resume.
Oh yeah, classic that guy. Never knew his name until this movie.
How did you like him as Dr. Moody?
I thought he was good. He's a good actor.
He's solid. So Brinkley goes to a lecture hall and
He's very
Moody.
reasonable. Like, it's like when you see Don McManus, you don't think this guy's out to lunch. So if they're wanting to sell you on the idea that he's not a fraud, they do a good job by casting Don McManus. He doesn't seem out there in any way.
Yeah, you see him and you say to yourself, this does not look like a guy who has performed mirror gazing.
No, you say, here's a guy that's probably, he looks like a college professor or a bureaucrat or, dad.
So here's a guy who's going to fall in with a dude who got struck by lightning and met extra dimensional parasitic beings, and probably 15 years down the line will engage in some mirror gazing, which might result in a suicide attempt. But here in 19, I guess this would be the late 70s now at this point, he seems like a nice guy, pretty square guy.
Yeah, he looks square. In fact, he has the flat top.
Yeah, and he does have the flat top. And Brinkley is furiously taking notes during the lecture, and he raises his hand to talk.
He's like, I had one.
They think he's a doctor, right? The other people think he's a doctor or an academic.
Oh, yes.
Oh, he says professor. Yeah, I think Moody says professor, and he's like, I'm not a professor. Yeah, he's recounting his experience. There's another doctor in there who's on Team Roy who dismisses the experience as a chemical reaction in his dying brain, which Brinkley likes.
Yeah,
he likes
Brinkley
the sound
says,
of
okay,
it.
it's like means that there's an explanation other than that I have psychic powers and I'm a crazy guy, or that I'm some kind of, it's like he wants to, it normalizes it, makes it like it'll be something that maybe go away and can be explained. Yeah, you can see how that would be very soothing.
But Moody falls in love with him. It's like love at first sight for Moody, because after the lecture, he tracks down Brinkley outside wanting to talk, but Brinkley at this point is way more into the science guy's explanation, and so he brushes him off. There's a long series of scenes of him brushing the doctor off, which you're just like, let's just get over it. We know that they're going to hook up at some point, but no, we have to have this foray here where he tries to profit off of his psychic abilities.
And apparently does, but only once that we see, or I guess we hear that he did it more than once, because he buys his wife that ring or whatever, and she doesn't want his ill-gotten gains from using his psychic powers to win money. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah. So you mentioned Groundhog Day. The Groundhog Day scene is Brinkley is watching a bowling tournament on TV with his buddies.
He's gonna get strike. No, wait, leave the 8-pin.
The 8-pin will be left standing, and his buddies see his potential, and so then they start going to the
really good Don Harvey performance here as a TM. Really though, his buddy.
Has Don Harvey been in any Cohen?
He has a Cohen-y attitude here.
Oh, he has the Cohen-y countenance,
and he looks like the guy I couldn't think of his name and still can't, that was in Big Lebowski and was in Capote.
The carpet pisser.
Yes, the carpet pisser. Exactly.
Yeah, he looks like the carpet pisser.
He does. I remember him in The Untouchables. He's just got that face. You always see that face. And he's one of the soldiers in Casualties of War.
Yeah, he was in a few De Palmas I saw.
He's in Charles Burnett's The Glass Shield. Oh, he's in a little bit in Public Enemies. He very much looks like he gets cast a lot as a guy who's in the 20s or 30s, which is another reason why you think he'd probably be in a Coen Brothers movie, because they do a lot of things set in the past.
Yeah, he looks like a prohibition.
But no Coen Brothers action yet.
So I think I may have missed something to do with his hot rod. Did they sell his hot rod?
I guess we did.
His
I
car,
guess he must have sold the hot
car.
rod, because he goes and tries to buy it back from the guy.
Yeah, I wonder if we either missed that or
maybe it was when they were talking about their financial troubles. I don't know. I don't know if we missed it or what. Maybe it's in that
one of the fabled
other hour that
deleted
was cut,
scenes.
the half hour that was cut.
Yeah, I think it's in the Saved by the Light vault that's not allowed to be opened until the year 2036. Geraldo's going to open it on live TV.
That when it's unsealed.
Also, speaking of that, there was this thing in the later 90s where they were going, and this actually might have been in the year 2000, where they went into one of the pyramids on live TV and they were going to open a chamber that had never been opened. And it was kind of like the Geraldo thing. Remember Geraldo found the...
what was it? Al Capone's vault or something?
Yes, Al Capone's vault, and it didn't have anything in it. Then you had which was mirrored in Titanic when Bill Paxton opens up that safe.
And also
there's
spoofed in the
nothing in
movie
it.
UHF when Weird Al Yankovic opens up the secrets of Al Capone's glove compartment. Aha! Road maps.
I forgot about that. That's pretty funny. So yeah, they
What's
did
funny
this.
is I don't remember UHF being that good of a movie, but if you just remember specific parts of it, so certain little bits are really funny.
Yeah, I think
Like the
UHF
guy
is kind of a
Raoul's
classic.
Wild Kingdom is the best.
Yeah, the suction cup
Today we're going to
turtles.
teach poodles how to fly. And he just throws the poodle out the window and it immediately dies, falling out of the sky, out of his, whatever story apartment. He's like, sometimes it takes him a little while to learn how to do it right. And he just immediately throws another one out the window.
So they did this thing live in Egypt in the year 2000, where they went to down in this pyramid with a camera crew, and they opened it and there was nothing in there. But do you know who was there during all that hoopla? Was
No.
Daniel Brinkley.
Whoa.
Yeah. So he really kind of he used his cachet from doing this stuff to kind of trip around the world, sort of like just run through the whole new age circuit or the whole esoteric circuit. And I mean, why not? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like he does all those talks and writes books and stuff, and that's kind of how he makes his money. But we'll get to what he does on the daily.
Yeah,
apparently volunteer work.
Yeah. So in the movie, he's starting to make a bunch of money at the track. Yeah, off predicting horse races, right? Him and his buddies. He buys the hot rod back from whoever bought it.
But he has to pay like a lot more than he paid for it. This is that part where everybody's kind of remembers the old Daniel Brinkley and they don't want to.
And and he shows restraint because he wants to whoop the guy's behind. He restrains because he's growing. He's changing, but he doesn't know how he fits in. He knows that he wants to help people and that he needs to help people, but he doesn't know how to. So there's a lot of dissonance and confusion. And Moody keeps coming around and he keeps brushing him off. So there's a scene where he's back with his old buddies that he pals around with. He's regaining mobility because we forgot to mention that he's in a wheelchair, right? For a little bit. He definitely has a cane for a long period of time. And then at some point, he's just pretty much 100% again.
Yes.
Like he's moving around in his fast Eric Roberts, like jittery kind of manner. And he's with his buddies and they're going on a drive somewhere, and they're at a gas station.
That was a really good call when you said that he kind of has cocaine mouth, because the more I think about it, it does seem like a guy who's just grinding his teeth all to hell.
Yeah. And in this gas station, he's flirting with this girl and she's having trouble with her gas cap, and he touches her wrist. And this is
But who is the girl?
I didn't recognize her.
You didn't recognize her as future bride of Eric Roberts, Eliza Roberts, his wife to this day.
Really?
That's Mrs. Roberts. This may be where they met.
So is Eliza, I guess Eliza would not be Emma's mother, because
I don't think so. I don't think they were married before this, but maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that's her right there.
Okay, nice. So they probably met on the set of this.
Maybe.
So he left his wardrobe assistant girlfriend.
Maybe.
This is the last
She continued
V-neck.
to work on a few. Well, I don't know. I feel like she got some credits with him later, but maybe not, because this is the same year as Immortals, which is the big credit for the wardrobe. But maybe so. Maybe this is the falling out between he and the wardrobe lady. Yeah, good call.
What if
he
this
left
is the
her?
last
He left
V-neck
her for Eliza.
film? I'm leaving you, and I'm not wearing these V-necks anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe like he has the two-tone V-neck in this, which I didn't think looked as good.
No,
it's like two weird shades of olive or something. I was like, maybe this is part of his evolution as an actor, where he gets more and more shades on the V-neck.
Or I thought, is this some kind of late 70s? Would it be? But no, it's not really indicative of any era.
No, it's a weird shirt.
It's very weird and gross.
Yeah, not good shirt.
So he touches his wife in this scene, and he has that dead zone moment where he can visualize her imminent death by an automobile accident, and he's
to
freaked
save her
out.
life while she's paying for gas. He steals the keys out of her car.
Yeah, that's right.
But then I guess she had a spare.
He
drives
whips
off with
a spare out. He steals the keys and he tells his buddies to take off, and they're going down the road, and then she passes them like just hauling ass, and he's like, no. because he knows what's going to happen. Come a little bit further up the road and see that this, like, it's a pretty violent scene. She's like blasted through the windshield. Probably where Eric first fell in love with her was when she was laid out on that windshield on the hood of the car covered in blood.
Then this kind of spurs him to finally go see Don McManus or something, right?
Yes, this is the last thing where he's like, I need to talk to Dr. Moody. Because I think this is maybe the first time that he has one of those where he touches somebody and has one of those dead zone moments.
Which we'll have more later. But
so yeah, he gets more friendly.
He goes to the diner of the damned.
Yeah. He and Moody have this talk, and then they start talking about the future visions, and then Wormwood gets brought up again.
And my favorite is where he has that there'll be a president, there'll be a cowboy actor with the initials RR. And Don McManus, old Raymond Moody, says, "Oh, Ronald Reagan?" He says, "Couldn't be. Must be Robert Redford."
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, that is it couldn't be Ronald Reagan, who had already been governor of the popular United States of America, California.
Yeah.
So it was so outlandish to dream that he might come to govern the other United States. That's far more likely that hippie icon Robert Redford would be president. But I was thinking maybe he really did have a future vision of love where we live in a world where Robert Redford was president and I have to suck a guy's cock with Stalin's tattoo on it.
Well, Robert Redford is president.
To get a chance pinch of bread crust as it flies from the corner of his sweaty mustache as he molests the wife I was issued.
Damn, Roy.
That's what would happen if Robert Redford was president.
That was pretty good. That was better than most of that movie. What's it called? Vertigo?
I forget the title.
I was gonna say something good. I don't know. It's gone. It's all right. Robert Redford is the president of the United States in the Watchmen HBO series.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So it did come true. Holy smokes.
Well, yeah. Did you ever read any of the Watchmen?
You know, there may be a copy in this house right now, but maybe it's gone. My brother had it, and another time when I visited my parents, I picked it up and read a few pages. It was pretty cool.
Oh, it's great.
I never read the whole thing, but it was much cooler than I thought it would be.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, and the Watchmen,
that takes HBO show, though, I made it like part way into episode 3 or 4 and was just like, man, I don't give a crap about any of this. I don't even know if I saw Robert Redford in it.
I got into it. It's worked its magic on me. But in the graphic novel, Nixon, it takes place in an alternate timeline where Nixon was not impeached
or resigned,
and he didn't resign. And so, did they ever even impeach him?
No, I think he beat it. Yeah, he got out on that.
Yeah, he resigned before they even impeached him. Anyways, in the graphic novel, he remains president for like 10 years or some longer. He extends his presidency for like a long period of time because of the Cold War and some kind of crisis and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, and also in the book of Saved by the Light, I remember this from when I was a kid, that Brinkley really did think it was Robert Redford. So I guess like he just had no knowledge of California politics. When was Reagan governor?
The 60s, I think it was the 60s. Well, I guess he was governor of California, I think, in the Nixon era, because isn't there there's that famous phone call that came out where Reagan calls Nixon when Nixon's president and says a bunch of racist stuff.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this.
Oh man, that's a pretty sad, funny phone call. And Nixon's just kind of humoring Reagan, and Nixon kind of seems creeped out by how racist Reagan is.
First Reagan term began in 1967.
There you go.
Second in 1971. So he left office in 1975.
Brinkley, the time that the lightning strike.
Yeah, he was already governor. So this just proves that Daniel Brinkley's retarded. The 2 R's stand for retarded. In this period of the story, Mr. Brinkley gets into this love thy neighbor kind of mode where he's trying to figure out how to make amends and how to do what the beings told him to do, which is to make a difference. Love is the difference that you take is equal to when you make it. Yeah, and he tries to go talk
to some guy. Did you recognize the guy he tries to talk to, his neighbor, that like doesn't want to have anything to do with him? Had he been in the movie before?
No, this feels like another deleted scene that's in the vault.
Yeah, he comes back and he talks to some guy in his neighborhood, and the guy says that the guy doesn't want anything to do with him. He's like, look, just I'll get you some dinner and we can talk. I can tell you about my experience and you can spread it to other people because they'll listen to you. And he says something, he's like, and the guy's like, no, get away from me or something. He's like, can't you just give me a break? And he's like, when did you ever give anyone a break. He's
Yeah, I thought maybe
never-
this guy was a preacher.
Yeah,
for
it
a
just seemed
second,
like
but-
some more popular guy than him in town, which could be anyone.
Yeah, I kind of tuned out during this scene, but yes, I don't remember seeing him before.
I did feel a little bit when the guy says, "When did you ever give anyone a break?" And he kind of thinks about it. He says, "Never."
Yeah, it's pretty rough. He gets into a quarrel with his wife right before he goes on this walk where she says there ain't one person in this town you haven't hurt, which is pretty rough. Somehow she loves him. She stands by her man. Well, for
Yeah.
most of the story.
Spoiler.
So he finds the derelict shoplifter that he beat up in the beginning. And
Yes.
So he
And then
takes this guy.
and the guy's scared of him, of course, but he assures him he's not going to beat him up.
Yeah, he takes this guy out to breakfast at a restaurant. And what'd you call the restaurant?
The restaurant or the diner of the damned.
Yeah,
At first he
perfect.
touches the weight. It's like every person he sees in this diner has like
Mhm.
a terrible fate that's going to befall them. He dead zones out on like 5 people in a row, and the first one's in a bathroom shooting heroin. Another guy's like drunk at a bar, and some other one's like a prostitute. I forget, but every person in this this diner is about to meet a terrible fate.
So there's a portly Hispanic looking guy, and he looks at this guy, and then he flashes to the guy in his car talking to a prostitute and just breathing crazily heavily.
Yes, there you go. It
in
was
the
guy.
flashback, it's just like the lady leaning over and just being flirtatious with him, and he's in his car just going
Big bug eyes.
sweaty and bug eyed, and then it cuts back and he's just eating eggs. It's really good.
I was thinking I'd get out of there too if I was him.
So when they showed him, I was like, that guy doesn't have it so bad. He's just
having a good time.
He just likes to have fun before breakfast. So yeah, the waitress is like an alcoholic who's had it rough and stuff. So he has to just bail out completely on the breakfast because
He leaves the guy there. He's like, "You finish eating." I will. He creeps out the waitress really bad. She kind of kicks him out.
after they order the breakfast, remember the shoplifter guy's eating crackers.
Oh yes, and don't fill up on crackers.
Yeah, I thought that was good. He races out of there. Somebody notices him in this restaurant, and they follow him outside with a 2x4 and crack him on the back of the head.
And it's the gas station attendant. I felt really good for that guy. There's one guy who deserved to be able to just beat the trash out of Eric Roberts and sucker punch him like that. It's that gas station attendant.
Yeah, he does look pretty self-satisfied. When he walks away.
I was like, good job, guy.
So
Some solid
he hits him
revenge.
good, man. And like Brinkley is like all screwed up from it, and he like stammers out.
And we get another lightning storm.
He stumbles out into a graveyard during a lightning storm, and he starts tempting God, like Lieutenant Dan style. He's like, take me back, but he doesn't get taken back.
No, he passes out from his wounds, I guess, and the ordeal. And then when he wakes up, the lightning has struck the tree next to him.
I guess he suffers a concussion, and
That makes sense.
when he wakes up, he's forgotten that Ronald Reagan had already had a political career.
No, couldn't be.
Did you say lightning struck the tree?
Yeah, he wakes up and he sees a tree that's been struck by lightning.
Oh,
right
I
next
missed
to him.
that. That's awesome. Damn, I'm sad that I missed that. The quality of the video I saw was pretty rough. So
Yeah, I would have
did you
liked
watch
a
it?
little more resolution on some of those effect scenes.
Saved by the
Fun to see.
resolution.
Yeah. If there's a 1080p saved by the light, I'm down.
After the lightning storm thing, he talks with Moody once again, and he doesn't know where he fits in. And Moody basically is like, you got to get out of this town, dude. Everyone here hates you.
Yeah, Brinkley tried to love, and now he's going to bring the town the sword.
Yeah.
No, McManus tells him that you poisoned the well. This well is poisoned for you. We need to get out on the road.
So they go on a talking tour.
But did you see how he dressed for the talking tour at first? He's got the white V-neck now. He's straight up in Perry Smith mode for this going on the road. You better alert the Clutters and Anthony Edwards.
Well, he goes into polo, like wearing a polo shirt with a suit.
He starts with the white V-neck, I think, and then he slowly classes up to suits throughout the movie. It's like in a scarf, like it's like his outfits get more and more like chic as we go on.
Harry mode, that's hilarious. So yeah,
he's dressed exactly like his Perry Smith character where they start out.
Well, he makes the mistake of ever telling anybody that he can read minds or see the future and shit, because people just start to swarm him at these events.
Oh yes, and the best is the first guy that swore when the people all rush him. This one guy just yet comes up to him shouting in a crowd. I couldn't imagine running up to a stranger in a crowd shouting, "I think my wife is cheating on me. I really think it."
Yeah, that was funny. And then the sad woman with the picture of her kid wanting to know if he's alive or not. That was pretty rough. He touches the picture of this boy, and the mother is like, I need to know if my boy is missing. I need to know if he's alive, or she says something like that. And you can tell
The boy
it
ain't
doesn't
alive.
flash to anything, but by the look on Brinkley's face. And then it's confirmed because he runs away from everyone and he goes into the bathroom, and there's another psychic in there. And this is a pretty funny scene where he's like, "Yep." He's like, "What did you feel when you touched the picture of that kid?" He's like, "It felt cold as ice." Yeah, I forget what he says, but the guy's very smug, and
Yeah,
he's
he's
like,
a lot more comfortable with it than Brinkley is at this point.
he's another near-death guy who's had the same
And this
experience.
is when we get to the best line of the movie, maybe when he goes and he meets all the other near-death people at that table.
Yeah, they go and he goes and has dinner with all of these other near-death experiences.
And he's like, "Daniel Brinkley dead 28 minutes, lightning bolt."
yeah, that's pretty great, right?
That's my favorite part of the movie, other than the parts where he's in the afterlife.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Yeah, so other people, I guess these other people also have psychic abilities.
Man, if you think about it, if the electricity is the thing that sets off these things, and you get to see like all the pain you've caused people, then people who get the electric chair are really screwed.
Yeah, it's a fitting punishment, right?
Yeah, they're really gonna have to face their past.
Unless they're
If
innocent.
you lost a loved one and we're like, there's no justice, even if this guy has to have the electric chair, he'll never really know the pain. It's like, maybe he will.
Roy, you're assuming our justice system's always right.
That's right. I guess, like, you could be on the electric chair and find out how much you loved people. That'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Be like,
It's your reward.
Yeah, for putting up with all the prison.
Somewhere in here, we must be reaching
Where we find about the wormwood.
the mid 80s when Chernobyl.
Because he goes into Don McManus's hotel room. We get weird shots where Eric Roberts is laying on his back on a bed, and it's a close-up of Eric Roberts' face, and we see the hotel room TV in the background, and it's showing this like crazy handheld, like jittery footage. It's very, very weird. I guess it was from Chernobyl.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck is on Don McManus's TV?
How many people died in Chernobyl?
I haven't watched that show yet, so I don't know. But we find out, of course, that Chernobyl, it translates to wormwood.
Yeah.
So he predicted Chernobyl.
I think it's just a major disaster that didn't have a bunch of deaths, but a bunch of illness. It says here 54, but somehow it's not just Brinkley. Like you said, it's in the book of Revelation, but it's in a bunch of stuff. Isn't Wormwood is also one of the demons' names in the Screw Tape letters?
I'm not familiar with that.
Screw Tape is the C.S. Lewis. It's an epistolary novel about two demons writing giving each other advice.
Oh.
And there's a demon named Screw Tape, and there's a demon named Wormwood.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, Chernobyl in Russian means wormwood.
And this is when he starts having the suit, and he's got the double-breasted suit. And I was thinking that maybe someday I could get a triple-breasted suit.
The Brinkley Predictions is really the thing when I was younger that really grabbed me. And it doesn't go into it too much in the movie, but the Brinkley Predictions are pretty scary. I mean, he saw stuff, his timeline for everything was all wrong because he kept thinking that everything was going to go down before the year 2000. But he saw certain things. One of the things that he saw, I think Brinkley may have been one of the first people to kick off this whole conspiracy about the microchip hand, Mark of the Beast thing.
Oh, wow.
Going as when did Saved by the Light, the novel, come out?
Or is it or his memoir? I don't know.
The biography, maybe in the 80s, 90s. I don't know.
Really fast.
But a common,
that may not have been the title of his book, or was it?
Common Christian superstition is that the Mark of the
Beast.
It is
the name of his book. I guess it was published first in 1994.
Wow, right before the movie.
Mm-hmm. So maybe I don't know if he had a book before that or anything, but yeah, I guess it came out right before the movie.
I just imagine, he's a guy, it kind of touches on it in the movie. He experiences some celebrity. So he's a guy from doing these talks, probably articles are being written about him. Moody is writing books in this time period. So probably before Brinkley wrote his own book, he's probably featured in a bunch of stuff. And that's probably, I guarantee you Stephen King knew about him and was inspired by him. Pretty interesting, really, when you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to have to read this book.
So in the story here, while he's on this talking tour, he gets a call while he's on the road that his mother is very sick. So he rushes home home to be with his mother, and she's on her deathbed. So he starts to comfort her with basically the knowledge that he has. And while she is,
And she starts seeing a little sister she never told anybody about that died when she was young.
that's right.
And she's like, she's calling to me. It's like, maybe you should just go to her.
Yeah, he tells his mom to go to her sister, and then she dies peacefully. And then there's some funeral business, which is always fun in
Yeah,
movies.
and I was wondering how many people has Brinkley over the years just told to give in to death, and it may be that the worst person to visit your dying loved one or your sick loved
I'm
one
telling
is
you, he's
Damian Brinkley. And then we get a number, like on this one, he said he's been in the last 5 minutes of 2,010 people to date.
Damian
Yes.
Brinkley is an emissary of the artificial moon. He tells people to go.
He's like, just give in to death now.
You see that light? It's the moon. Beautiful, isn't it? Go toward it. It's comforting. It's good there. That's my aunt. See that little girl? That's my aunt. So there's another homeless dinner thing that happens in this part of the story too. That's pretty funny. Where it's Dr. Moody and Brinkley with a bunch of homeless guys in a restaurant. You remember this?
Yes. He picks up one homeless guy to take out to eat with McManus, and the homeless guy sees McManus. Is like, what about this hombre? And Robert's like, oh, he ain't half as dangerous as he looks. And then you see he's got like 5 homeless guys, and they're in a Chinese restaurant that has some crazy massive golden goblet candlestick urn thing filled with its egg rolls, just piled high with egg rolls.
Yeah.
I'd like to order that somewhere.
It just like these bums just gleefully just noshing on these egg rolls and like passing the bowl around.
Yes, this is the thing, that the resolution was poor, and it took me a couple times where somebody says, pass me an egg roll, to get that they weren't just rolls.
They look like bread.
Yeah, but the more you look, if you really pay attention, they are egg rolls. It's just the resolution is so poor.
Have you ever seen the Boonwell movie Viridiana?
No, I have the script, but I never saw it.
Yeah. Well, that's the famous one where it's like a lady invites a bunch of derelicts into her house for like a dinner party, and they just trash it, and there's just too rowdy. So I think this is some kind of reference to that. Maybe a subconscious reference to
interesting.
it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Louis Teague would know about it.
Yeah, Teague might be hip to it.
Yeah, Louis Teague got a lot of work over the years, and you can see he does a very workmanlike job with this. It's like he's a pro. He knows what's up. He's like the guy that directed In Cold Blood. They may be hacky, but they don't suck. They know how to make a movie. Yeah, they know how to make a movie.
Throughout all of this speaking tour stuff too, Brinkley, his relationship with his wife keeps getting more and more strained. The celebrity aspect of it is straining too. He's
becoming such a big success that his wife has to leave him, which is a classic man problem.
Yeah. She doesn't like all the fan mail that he gets, or that he makes money off of these speaking engagements. So he's still trying to hold it together when he goes to Vegas. We had mentioned Vegas earlier. Now we're finally here. Best part of the movie, besides the line that you said earlier. And he continues to be stormed by people who want his help. And he escapes from like a crowd of people that are he's experiencing Beatlemania. They're chasing after him and grabbing at him and stuff. So he escapes from these fanatics, and he goes and talks to a fortune teller, and he asks this female fortune teller what's going to happen with his wife, and she tells him
it's going to work out, I think.
And then he kind of schools her, right? He like corrects her on certain things, but I didn't pay super close attention to this scene, I'm not going to lie, but I mean, does Brinkley know, if he can foresee things, does he know that it's not going to work between him and his wife?
No, I don't think, he sees, with the RR and everything, I guess in the Wormwood, we see that sometimes he gets things clear, and sometimes he sees things in obfuscated, obscurely.
Yeah, but when he sees people, when he touches people and stuff, he gets a pretty clear view.
Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, good point. He can't predict how his marriage is going to go.
Hey, do you think when Brinkley masturbates that he has visions when he touches himself? He has some kind of strange future shock.
He's going to experience erectile dysfunction in the future.
He knows when the climax is coming.
Who is the? Oh yeah, true. It's like, I've got 5 seconds.
I'd better get the rag ready.
This is where he gets approached by the lady, right?
Yeah, he dips out from this fortune teller. He makes a phone call to his wife, and this is when it's kind of made clear that she's done.
Oh, this is when she says she wants a divorce, and he's like, okay.
Yeah,
but that's maybe even later.
This is pretty much her saying like, this is the last straw. Like, I'm at the end of my rope with this stuff here. And right after this, he doesn't even touch this lady. I guess he doesn't have to touch everybody.
Beautiful lady.
But instantly, like when he sees this woman in this casino, he has a vision of her being beat up, and then he meets the guy that beats her up.
Yes.
He
And
meets
this guy
her
that beats
boyfriend
her
slash
up,
husband.
yeah, big guy, a lot larger man than Roberts.
So he has a moment with the woman and she leaves, and then the guy comes around and he knows it's the guy that beats her up, but still they hang out for a bit.
Yeah, the guy wants him to. He's like, "Hey, you're that guy that has them psychic powers. Why don't we go play some blackjack, make some money?"
So
And
they
he
go and
decides
gamble together.
Yeah, and this guy, he doesn't know that Eric Roberts has best of the best skills, but he could suspect it.
But Brinkley almost seems to be like having fun. Like when it shows them playing blackjack, it's almost like he forgot that he doesn't like this guy.
Well, he
because he's a
doesn't. They
wife
don't
beater.
play. It seems like they're playing, but they're just watching other people play. And then the guy's like, "Hey, let's go get a table," which I guess means let's go play at a table. Yeah, he's calling all these cards that other people. He's predicting all the cards that other people are going to get. So
Okay,
he's
so
making
he's
the guy any
proving
money.
to him.
Yeah, that he knows it.
Okay.
But then he tells the guy he needs to go to the bathroom, or yeah.
Yeah, he excuses himself.
Yeah, but you think
just
he's getting along with the guy.
And he can barely contain himself from just like, he wants to kill this guy.
And he's like beating the trash out of the bathroom and being like, "Give me the strength."
Because he's the ultimate hero.
Yes.
He loves women and he's a defender of women.
That's right. And he used to, and now he overcomes the urge to be violent to this guy. But then he comes back to the guy and says, "Hey, what if I could show you how to do this?" And I was thinking, is he going to teach the guy how to have ESP?
Yeah, that's what I
like.
thought
What is the thing here? You can make $100,000, $200,000, but then on your deathbed at the end, it's all you're gonna have to pay for all of it. You know, it's like, yeah, but not till late. Then, right? Okay.
Yeah, he's down with it. Not while I'm alive, right?
Yeah, very strange.
So he leaves the guy and he hooks back up with the battered girlfriend.
Yeah, he goes back to his hotel room and the battered girlfriend shows up at it. And in classic, Brinkley Danyon is a great guy and a defender of women. And he also knows what's going to happen. So when she shows up, he's like, "I thought I might see you again." And then, but then he doesn't, she comes in and she wants to cuddle with him. But he does not shut them together in the room. He leaves the little, the bolt or whatever in a hotel room, how they have that, I don't know what you put. It's kind of the thing of the knob on the chain, but it's like how some hotel rooms, in the old days, you'd have the chain with the little knob that would be your top lock. And then this hotel room has what the more modern ones have, which is like
a slide.
A slide thing. Yes. And he sets that up so that it acts as a jam to hold the door slightly ajar.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he knows what's going to happen. He wants it to happen.
Yeah. She sits on the couch with him and he sees the scars on her wrists where she had attempted suicide. And she talks about her own near-death experience where she went to hell and was having her flesh torn off by dogs and stuff like that.
Have you seen Danyon Brinkley eventually had another wife that was someone who interviewed him and mid-interview started falling in love with him or something? And she looks like a aged up version almost of this lady. And I wondered if that could be more that's left on the cutting room floor or something. But he basically just gives this woman advice to get as far away from this guy as she can and to go ask her mom for help. She's like, does your mom love you? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, just ask her, just tell her you need help.
Yeah, he's trying to help her get rid of this guy.
And then the guy shows up saying that he lost a ton of money at the tables and he's all mad. And then Eric Roberts beats him up.
So he lost a bunch of money trying to use some kind of, he thought he had psychic skills.
Yeah, I guess he thought Eric Roberts had passed ESP along to
him. This was all he was waiting for because this is where Best of the Best comes out.
Yes, and the guy immediately takes this guy down easily. And then he's got his hand, like he's doing some weird thing where he's like pulling the skin of the guy's head back with his hand, but it looks like he's doing it pretty gently, almost like he's giving the guy a head massage. It's weird.
From behind with his hands on his brow, like jerking his head back and his neck back.
The guy's like, "Don't hurt me." And he's like, "I don't want to hurt you. I want to kill you."
But he restrains.
Yes, he does not. He just keeps massaging this guy's head while he's on top of him.
But Roy, he is so mad. He's so angry that this guy is a wife beater that he punches the wall as hard as he can.
Oh, right. And he punches
breaks
through
his hand.
That's right. I was wondering if maybe that was like, that'd be funny if that was magically cured his ESP
movie. And there was some good, yeah, that would be funny. There was some good Robert's excited Southerner when he punches the wall where he's like, oh, we got to. So he hurts his hand real good and he neglects it for a long time.
That's right. He goes back and visits TM and TM's like, hey,
your hand's fucked, bud.
it's turning green.
This is in the
he's
book.
like,
I remember this being.
And then as soon as TM leaves, he's like, it just starts almost fainting.
Yeah, he's basically very, very sick from an infection from his broken hand. He comes home before he meets his bud. He comes home to see that Casey has moved out. It's over. All of her stuff is gone. And then, yeah, he gets sick and he collapses and he finds himself in the hospital. And the doctor tells him that his heart's already been dramatically weakened from the lightning strike. And now there's an infection and that he's going to have open heart surgery, but he refuses to sign the surgery release form.
That's right. He's just sure because he's like, I don't have control either way or something.
He just wants to go home.
Yeah,
man.
He thinks he's gonna die.
He's like, this is my ticket home. And he's like, no one's gonna stop me this time. But Moody comes and visits him.
The way he sees Moody is he wakes up and he sees a figure in front of a field of light and his eyes slowly focus and it turns out to be Moody in front of a window. And then Moody just shuts all the shades like he thought that the room had too much light in it.
Are you sure he wasn't mirror gazing?
Maybe he was looking at his reflection too much in that window. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, Moody shows up to try and talk some sense into him and just say like, hey, I know that it's more comforting to just want to die and go back to that.
You think at some point Brinkley Danyon would warn Ray Moody about the mirror gazing.
Yeah.
Tell him to stay away from
He would have
it.
known, right? What a dick. Maybe they had a falling out of some kind. But Moody tells him in this scene, he's like, look, you just have the surgery. There's a chance you could die on the table. If not, then it means that you still have work left to do. And so he kind of convinces Brinkley to just go for it. Mm-hmm. And so he's on the operating table and he's just very like calm and cool and relaxed.
First he meets the doctor. Yeah, and the doctor says something like, don't worry, I've done this a million times. And he's like, oh, I'm not.
Yeah, he's totally relaxed. And as they're operating on him, wouldn't you guess, he has another out-of-body experience.
Yes. And first he rises out of himself and he sees the doctors operating him. And the very doctor who told him not to worry bets $20 against him surviving.
That's right.
Yeah. I was thinking, do not go to that doctor.
No, that guy probably gazes into mirrors. He's still alive.
Worst doctor.
Yeah. So while he's floating around, he sees that, and then he goes back to the Crystal Cathedral and the artificial moon where he speaks to demonic entities again. And
it's pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, these beings, they give him his life review once again.
And you see all the terrible things. He once again burns down the Black family's house,
and then it's counterbalanced by
then he gets to see all the stuff he's done during the movie.
What if they just showed him Ronald Reagan's entire political career?
You moron.
Yeah. He was elected in 1967.
Yes, that's what instead of the bad things he did to people, they just showed him.
We gave you all the clues to assassinate Ronald Reagan.
Screen Actors Guild.
We were trying to get you to assassinate him.
Now
wasn't the other guy's name Brinkley?
Jr.
Oh yeah, Brinkley and Hinckley.
Oh yeah, Brinkley and Hinckley. Good call.
So, while he's dead, he sees his mother. That's right.
Was she with their sister in it or no?
Yes, she is.
That's right. He wants to go to him
with his childlike aunt. His mother's still old though. That's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, let the lady be young. She's in the afterlife. So he survives the open heart surgery and he's in recovery and he's in the cafeteria and he's having a burger.
So now he's been resurrected twice. So he makes Jesus look like a pile of shit. And at this point, we know from knowing the future that he's been resurrected again after.
Yeah, he's
up at least 3 at this point.
He was struck by lightning twice, dude.
That's wild.
That's what he said. I listened to his Coast to Coast interview.
Is that like that character in the movie The Great Outdoors?
66 times.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah, where he's like, I was struck six. You were struck 6 times? 66. And I really do think that if I remember right, in the Coast to Coast interview, he was hit the second time while he was on the phone.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this guy is a dumb ass.
I guess phone technology didn't change that quickly.
I would have to see when that one happened. I don't I
The real-
remember
The real Brinkley's a blonde man.
yes, he survives this surgery. He meets that guy who bet the $20 on his life, and he gives him the $20 because
Yes,
he goes,
he's like,
"I
no,
did
I was
die."
dead.
Yeah, yeah, and he's having a burger. There's some funny
Oh yeah,
line
he tells
about
him
him
the
having a
cheeseburger is
cheeseburger.
bad for him, and he's like, so you know it's bad for you? He's like, oh, I've been dead, and I don't know. He says, I'm not worried.
Yeah. So then we see his buddy TM is dropping Danyon off at a hospice gig.
That was another cool part. Like that's one thing where it's like he and Dan, when TM tells him about the hand earlier, he's asks, TM isn't into the whole trip, I guess, at the new age stuff, and he talks about they don't have that much in common anymore. He's like, are we still friends? It's like, oh, we're more than friends. I love you. And they give each other like he's like has to go with a gentle fist bump. They have this fist bump thing, and then when he's having the nice things he's done flash before his eyes, you see the fist bump with TM. There just is something about Don Harvey's face that was kind of heartwarming.
Yeah.
TM really appreciated that.
I like that guy. I wish he was in more stuff, but I guess he's in a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah, watch The Deuce, or rather don't. I don't much care for the show, but he's in it a lot.
Yeah, so he's going up to this nursing home to help some old people die. He kisses this old lady right on the mouth.
Yeah, and he tells him that's his new life, is he's going to go and be with people when they die, help them go towards the light and not be afraid. And oh yes, and the guy says, he asks him outside the I guess it's a hospice care place or something. He's like, do you smell that? And TM's like, yeah, it smells like death. And he's like, no, it's fear. When I'm done, it's going to smell like roses.
Then we see him at another speaking engagement. He's talking about more of his bullshit, but he's really speaking with confidence now.
He tells them all they're spiritual beings.
Yeah, for the first time. Is that the first time he says it?
I think he said it maybe earlier too. It's his catchphrase. We know it by now by heart that he tells people this. So it's like he's still telling people they're spiritual beings, I guess.
And there's a doctor that asks him his academic qualification and his medical standing, to which he replies,
yes.
Go ahead, Roy. You remember what he says?
Danyon Brinkley, DOA.
Yeah, and the audience laughs.
And the audience loves it. And ever since then, I'm sure if the guy was not a plant in that crowd, they had to plant a guy in every crowd to ask him his qualifications so he could say that line. So
that was TM in real life.
Yeah, it's probably TM, yes.
In a suit and shit. Oh, that's
certainly. Or Dr. Moody and my fake mustache.
Well, what are your qualifications?
I see, but Casey shows up at some point and was
he sees her in the audience.
Yeah, and she's down with it, but they don't get back together, but they make their peace.
It
almost seems like they're going to hook up. That's another, I guess that was one of the things where it's like so many loose ends.
Yeah. She tells him that she's proud of him, and I'm not going to lie, it was kind of touching.
She's also so pretty that you're like, oh, come on, get back with her.
She's so pretty, and she's just so like patient with him throughout the whole movie.
Yeah,
she finally gets fed up, but her telling him that she's proud of him, I thought was sweet. And then after her, some hag, some lady that looks like a Pentecostal hag of some kind, comes up to him, and she tells him that,
oh yes, this is the oddest ending for the movie. You feel like it must have just been something in his book or something he likes to say that they just couldn't stand to leave out.
Yeah, she talks to him about what, like that he was.
She's like, you look like you like to have a drink now and again. He's like, yes ma'am, I do. It's like, and you look like you might like to chase the women. It's like, yes, I do like women. And then she says, well, God was sure scraping the bottom of the barrel when he found a prophet in you. It's like, yes ma'am, he was.
And that's it.
I was thinking, McManus kind of those unit episodes. Every once in a while, those unit episodes have a really cool scene where somebody says something and you're like, whoa, wouldn't expect to see that. Like there's like the main character on it's Jewish, and it's about an army special forces unit. And there's an episode where they like protect an Arab guy, and one of the commanding officers tells him, you're going to be outside for this. He's like, why am I on the bench? Because I'm a Jew. And the guy's like, that's right. But in this one, in the ones with McManus, they're the same guy. There's a part where he wants to check a playground for a clue that somebody's left him for where he's supposed to meet them, and there's just a mom and a little girl at the playground, and he goes and just sits by the mom and is like, cute girl, really cute girl, until the mom gets creeped out and takes her daughter away so he can check for the clue.
Wow,
it's pretty cool.
That's pretty gross.
I wish that I could have a near-death experience, not for the increased virtuousness or the psychic powers, but just to get bounced around like he did in that house. So that way I'd finally know what women experience when I make love to them.
Just to get lifted up to the ceiling like that.
Just get bounced around a room like that.
Yeah, you want that bouncy castle. Well, let's talk just for a second about refutations, because
Okay.
I had seen here that some of the book's assertions were subsequently challenged, including claims of where and how Brinkley recovered and how long he was supposedly dead, and
Oh.
claims made about his military service record.
Oh, wow.
Interviews with his physicians and the reporter who interviewed him indicate that Brinkley never entered the hospital or morgue, and that Brinkley originally did not claim to have died, but
Oh,
only
wow.
that he was out for a few minutes and that his wife saved his life. This is in sharp contrast to the story of a morgue revival after being dead. You remember how many minutes?
28 minutes, lightning bolt.
As was claimed in the book. So
Not surprised. This
Yeah.
whole thing has the sheen of the con on it.
Yeah.
He and Moody seem to me like a couple of operators.
Or he was brainwashed by demonic entities and thinks that he's serving someone good, but he's not.
That's probably right.
I think that he's an unknowing servant of the artificial moon.
I mean, he called Robert Redford's presidency on the Watchmen.
That'd be funny if he was listed as like a consultant. Story
Watchmen.
story consultant.
I do think there needs to be a Saved by the Light 2 to cover his latter years.
Oh man, I was thinking about that as we were talking earlier.
Like no movie needs a sequel more than this.
Yeah, I really want to see him in Egypt.
Oh yeah.
I think you could write a play, a one-act play about Danny and Brinkley in Egypt the night that they went into that catacomb and discovered nothing. But I would recommend to the listeners to find my favorite supplemental thing that I looked up when I was getting into this is the Coast to Coast interview. That's pretty fun.
Is that the one that's like an hour?
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half. It's kind of long.
Wow. I started that today. Then my dad was around. I was like, man, my dad's going to think I'm nuts watching this. So I turned it off out of shame.
But yeah, he's been around for a little bit. There's some good YouTube stuff of him as well. He had at one point some kind of a YouTube series.
Oh.
You know what, Roy? It very well may be TM who's interviewing him or hanging out with him in this, because I wasn't paying super duper close attention to it. But the guy that's talking to him is a guy of similar age with the same accent, and they are talking about like there's kind of references to them having known each other for a really long time.
Oh, maybe it is TM.
Yeah, so that might be something that we'll have to follow up on.
Yeah, I'm definitely think that there's going to be some follow-up. In fact, all this week, one of the biggest disappointments to me is that I tried to watch the Tom Selleck Monty Walsh movie, but it's like you have to pay for it on my parents' TV. So we'll see if I eventually watch that. But they had a big thing for it because I've been watching more of the Jesse Stone movies. I watched 2 more of them. I was hungry for more Selleck, and it was showing me the Walsh, and I was like, oh, I'm ready. And my dad has seen it. He said it was good, but not as sad as the Lee Marvin one. Yeah,
I really don't want to give up on Brinkley Danyon just yet. This is one of those,
I want to read the book.
Yeah, you should. I was kind of into the 2012 stuff too. I don't know why. I love esoteric stuff, man.
I think that, the one you're talking about, the Coast to Coast, isn't that the one where he said he's been like with 2010 people when they died?
Maybe so. Yeah. I think I've heard him say that before.
Maybe he probably says it, and I'm sure people always ask it.
He was big on the 2012 bandwagon. And so he was like around there, there was a whole industry of dudes in that time period. All the big new age guys were all sort of pointing towards this date as being some kind of event was going to happen, and Brinkley came out as being one of those guys, even though
it was the end of the Mayan calendar thing.
Okay. And the mainstream thing about that was, the world's going to end, it means that there's going to be natural disasters and all this stuff. But the new age community had this thing of like, no, when the Mayan calendar ends, there's going to be this human evolution that happens. And Brinkley made no mention of anything like this in anything that I read of his, not in Saved by the Light, not in any of the interviews or anything I read when I was a kid.
Maybe it was told to him in the future near-death experiences.
Yeah, when he choked on the ham sandwich that one time. Yeah, one of the later ones, I guess.
Number 4 or 5.
So during that time period, I remember seeing a video with him, and he was obsessed with water. He was like, you need to make your body alkaline, and you need to drink a lot of water, or you are not gonna ascend. So that was like one of his big obsessions. But I don't know what he's into these days. I know he's still
About
around.
Stock and water.
He's 70 years old or 71.
He looks good. He's in like in that Coast to Coast, he was in really good shape. Like he looked really fit. Like in the one I watched another interview with him on like a talk show that was brief where I watched part of it, and he had put on a lot of weight, it looked like. But I think I saw an even more recent thing where he would look like he might be really fit. I was like, oh, this is more like Roberts.
So you watched a different one than me.
I watched a couple of different things.
I listened to a radio audio clip where Brinkley talks about the movie. The interviewer asks him, what did you think about the movie adaptation of your life? He has an effeminate quality to his voice,
it's a softness,
southern effeminate. And he's like, it was a movie that I think it touched on a lot of the right points. You know, the most important thing is that love is the change and all that. And then he's like,
I noticed that like on his Wikipedia or something, it doesn't even list the movie.
Oh, weird.
I almost feel like he's tried to distance himself from it or something.
Maybe so.
I don't know why.
But he
portrays
says
him as like a god.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's not like
the ultimate woman
like,
defender. But yeah, in that audio clip.
I did, but I don't know about other people.
In the audio clip, Brinkley says, he goes, I thought Mr. Roberts did a fine job. He's a lot prettier than I am. And I'm a lot heavier than he is.
Maybe
something like that.
Yeah, maybe it's just he has like a thin face. In the clip I saw of him that seemed most recent, I was like, oh, he looks like he's gotten in pretty good shape. But yeah, another one I watched him on something where he was pretty heavy set.
So are we going to stay in 1995 for the next episode?
No, we're not. I had a birthday recently, and so I thought I'd pick something near to my heart. And one of my favorite novels is Inherent Vice. So I thought, let's do the movie of Inherent Vice, which is not one of my favorite movies. Spoiler.
Cool. Yeah, he's in it.
Barely.
Barely.
Mickey Wolfman.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone has their assignment.
All right. I'm going to eat some dinner. I can smell my mom's cooking. It smells good.
All right. I'll see you in the light, Roy.
No.
I'm not ready.
Don't make me go back.
I think that as close as you could possibly make in a television movie, broken into 7 parts, dealing with commercials, and as much as that I am that person. So it's pretty accurate. I'm a little smarter than that. I was meaner than that. And I can't say that I'm prettier than Eric Roberts, but, I'm a little bigger than Eric Roberts.
I met myself in a dream, and I just want to tell you it was alright. Well, I'm beginning to see the light.